Hi, babe. I don't feel beautiful this morning. I didn't sleep very well.
No. No, you're beautiful.
My belly hurts. What's up, Buttercup? Are you just getting up? So my friend's gonna go look at the um at the dump, I guess, wherever the car parts are on Monday. Okay. Yeah. So hopefully they'll be your car there. I think it's a pretty common car. Right? Yeah. I don't think it should be too hard to find those parts. And I told him if you found them, just pay for them and I'll Venmo them. And then you can just pay me back. Yeah. How'd you sleep? I'm not fooling you anymore, am I? You know I'm secretly a mush, right? Don't tell anyone you're gonna ruin my rep, alright? Seriously. Always. Tired. So my class ends at 2:30. I'm running over to see my mom at 3. And then I will be home after that. I don't know what your plan is, but just keep me posted, okay? And if you can't get here, I understand. I'll be there. No, I won't be mad. Be disappointed, but I won't be mad at you. I missed you, but you know, I get it. I really do miss you.
You're feeling definitely right.
Okay. Oh, I didn't sleep well last night. I kept getting up. Maybe. Maybe. I think I ate something funky yesterday. What's that face? What's the face?
because you ate something funky yesterday.
Oh, you're like,
Well, I know it wasn't the sausage you ate.
you know, I think I'm lactose intolerant. Like, I think every time I eat milk, my stomach hurts.
It sucks.
Right? Like cheese? Seriously?
Man,
Horrible. I think everything I ate yesterday had milk in it. You're so cute. You still wear my shirt?
told you it was bad at the bed. That's your son.
Hmm.
Still does.
Hmm. Does it smell like laundry?
Smells like it is.
The house smells like burnt popcorn.
Hmm?
I said my house smells like burnt popcorn.
Still.
I gotta try to clean the microwave again. My house is a mess. It really needs to be clean. I need to clean it later. So I told you about this one student that wasn't gonna drop my course, and I convinced her to stay. She texts me every single day, all day long, like we're friends. I like called the head of the department. I'm like, I'm not quite sure what to do with this girl, like texting me from like 8 a.m. to like 11 p.m. at night. Not okay. We're not friends, kiddo. If you have a problem, I'm like all about it, but crazy.
Become a stalker.
Great. This is what I needed, a stalker. It's because I'm so nice. Huh?
It sure is.
I know. I know. I know. I don't know how not to be nice. I don't know how not to be nice.
It's hard for people.
It's not hard for you. No, you're actually a pretty nice guy. Not overly, but you're nice to me.
Actually, everybody is nice to me.
I'm nice to you.
Yeah.
What are you doing today?
Thinking about cutting my grass again.
You're just a glutton for punishment?
Well, I mean, I let it go for so long that it was like 8 inches high.
Oh, are you serious?
Oh my God.
Oh, okay.
So I got it down to probably like about 5 inches yesterday. So, you know, grass is supposed to be between like 3 and 4 inches high.
So you got it down to like 5 inches, but you need to cut it again.
I mean, I could probably just leave it alone. But then, you know, next year it's gonna out of hand.
Yeah. I feel like I need a leaf blower.
Yeah.
I don't know, maybe not.
I can bring mine.
No, but I mean, don't you think it'd be helpful since those pine needles are like,
Yeah, and your beds and everything else, and all over your wall. You go right to the woods.
good morning. Good morning, Maria.
Good morning.
Did you try your hand at taking those review tests or you didn't get a chance yet?
I did twice.
Good. How did it go? Good morning, Aylin. How did it go?
I can see you. Can you see me or no?
I can't see you, no.
I can see you. Let's see.
Now I can see you. And your video sounds wonderful.
I don't see you.
Now you don't see me?
No.
You're frozen on mine. So
No, I don't see you.
now I don't see you anymore either.
I'm gonna close and open again, okay?
Okay. Good morning, Aylin.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm very good, thank you.
Nice to see you.
Nice to see you too.
Did you try taking those tests?
I tried the infection control, almost all of them. It was very helpful, very helpful.
But you can see what you know already and then what you need to,
Yeah, I'm
right?
planning to do the infection control test soon.
Okay.
I just need more help on the chair side. It's a lot. I think it's a lot.
So yeah, as
Yes.
soon as everyone's here, but one of my students took chairside yesterday. She
Mhm.
passed,
Oh, okay.
but it was completely different than my other students. She said there were literally questions from every single chapter of the MDA book, every chapter. So she sent me like a bunch of questions. That's what I'm looking up right now. So I'll go over them.
Perfect. Perfect.
Nicole, can you see me now?
I can't see you, but I can hear you, which
Okay.
is fine. Now I can see you.
Yeah,
I feel like when you put your video on, it's freezing.
exactly. And then I cannot see you.
Well, can you hear me? You can hear me,
Yeah.
right?
That's okay.
I
Good
mean,
morning.
you probably don't need to look at this ugly Sunday mug anyway. So I'm like,
It's not true. Good morning.
good morning, Natalia. How are you?
Very good.
So I was just saying that my one of my other students took the chairside test yesterday
What?
and she
Oh.
passed,
Yay.
but completely different than the other one that took it. Like so my first student that took it had like half medical emergencies.
Right.
This student that took it said there were questions from every single chapter of the MDA book.
Oh, Dios mío. Okay.
Agreed. Ay caramba, right?
Yes.
Oh.
But anyway, so she sent me like probably 40 questions that were on there. So I'm like looking them up. I know. I'm like, send me the questions. Send me the questions. So
Aw,
yeah, I'll go over them with you guys.
thank you.
Yeah. So it looks like there's a lot of yeah, she said every single chapter of the MDA, there were questions. It looks like there's a lot of procedure steps.
Right.
So we'll go, everything she sent me, we'll go over. She said there are questions from muscle, facial bone, tooth morphology, diseases. Yeah. So we'll just go over them. We'll go over these and then we'll continue on with our, you know, just so you guys can kind of jot them down and get an idea. Again, I guess every person's test is different.
Right.
Unless they were the same test and one just remembered all the medical emergencies and the other one really like, you know, everybody's going to look at something and see it a different way.
Yeah.
So I can't really say about that. There definitely is a lot of medical emergency questions, at least from what I can tell. So they're asking questions about anesthesia, about tooth morphology, syncope, stroke, endo, implant procedure steps. So matrix band placement. So it looks like they're really, which is good. I mean, they should ask all these questions. It's just an exorbitant amount of information to, you know, to learn and regurgitate. You guys have the added bonus that you actually work in a dental office
Right.
already, so that you're kind of, well, you know, it can work for or against you, depending on how you look at it. If
Right.
your office does everything the way it's supposed to be done, that's great. But I would say in my 20 years, most offices don't.
Yeah. No.
So the problem is that you, and especially since you guys got on the job training, you kind of learn to do things the wrong way. No, I mean, like, and listen, there's easier ways to do it, you know? You don't know, every tooth doesn't have to be etched, bonded, you know, it doesn't have to be like, there's bond that also contains etch. And so it kind of depends on you, but the actual procedural steps, you know, are going to be slightly different. So let's look at these questions that she sent me. Hold on a second. I think someone can't get in. All right, let's see. I don't know why someone's messaging me in infection control right now. Anna gets lost.
And they have pictures too in the exam?
She said no.
Pictures.
Yeah.
Same thing for infection control.
So there wasn't very much on. Oh, back up. You're talking about a different test. So they don't have pictures on any of the tests, I don't think.
Okay, because radiology have a lot of pictures.
Because you have to,
Okay, yeah.
right? I mean, they have to show you pictures so you can identify what's going on. But for infection control, they're going to ask you steps. They're going to ask you, you know, I think that as far as infection control goes, if you just review the 2 Zoom meetings that we went over, I think you're going to be fine. Or even if you just review the PowerPoints.
Uh-huh.
Like I don't want to say the infection control test isn't hard,
Yeah.
but you do basically follow infection control at your office. Like you have to.
Bless you.
Bless you. This is everyone, right? Good morning, Nikki.
Good morning.
How are you?
Good. I had a late start this morning.
You're fine. So I was just saying that one of my other students took their test yesterday and she passed, but
Wow.
he said there were questions from every single chapter of the MDA.
Yeah, literally.
So I'm going to go, and she like spewed out, like she's super smart. She spewed out like 40 questions that were on there. So I'm going to like just start telling you guys the questions that she went over with me and let's answer them. So, you know, at least you have like the memory of, oh, right, we went over that. So I don't know if my 2 students got 2 completely different tests or if one just remembered, oh my gosh, there were so much medical emergencies and the other one was like, oh my God, there's questions from everywhere. You know, after you take a test, sometimes you're just like, if you pass, you're like, who cares what was on there? Like, I'm done. And you can't totally remember. So maybe she just remembered the questions that she had a hard time with. So maybe it was half medical emergencies and the other half was every other chapter. But at any rate, she sent me a bunch of questions that were on there.
Okay.
So I'll go over them with you. And, you know, she said it was really hard, which I would assume that it would be because it's general chairside, like just encompasses so much stuff.
Yeah.
Right. So I wish I was still in bed, Nikki. What?
I just
All around
I had my uncle's got engaged last night, and at the same time it was he's gonna have a baby with his fiance now.
Oh, that's awesome.
And
Congratulations.
it was the baby reveal yesterday.
Oh,
So it was too much happening in one moment, and I got home pretty late. So
I feel you. Okay, so I'm just going to kind of ask these questions and see if you guys know the answers to them, and then, you know, we'll sort of go over, you know, I guess. So what facial muscle is used in chewing?
Boy.
mandibular.
Mandibular is not a muscle.
Did we review this last time?
No, I'm just asking you questions that she sent to me. No, we didn't review any of this. No.
Oh, okay.
What are the options?
What are the options?
I'm gonna. I'm
Like,
listening. I'm gonna get my books real quick.
Girl, you do you. I'm not, you know. The muscles used in chewing are the muscles of mastication.
Oh, okay.
Does that sound familiar?
yes.
Okay, so mastication literally means chewing. But if you didn't take Latin in school or you're not a word person, that's
Yeah.
not something that you might remember.
What it means in Spanish.
Yeah.
Huh?
Masticar.
Oh, perfect.
Right. So it's, I thought it was like just one muscle, like a specific name. You know, mastication is like a multiple, seems like muscles. No?
Yes, it is. So I'm saying, so the muscles that are used in chewing are the muscles of mastication.
Okay.
So that includes the masseter is the big muscle.
Okay.
Masseter.
Oh, yeah, the masseter.
Okay. So
Mhm.
that's probably the question that was asked. That's probably what was in there. But it also includes, and if you look at the words, they should, like, masseter is similar to mastication.
Right.
Temporalis muscle is like TMJ, the temporomandibular, right? The pterygoid, internal and external. So those are the muscles that are used. All right. If I had to make an educated guess, I would say masseter was the one that was on there, because that's like the big chewing muscle. And if you guys remember muscles of mastication, masseter should click with you. Okay. I mean, again,
Right.
So what premolar tooth has two roots?
First, maxillary, first premolar.
Maxillary first premolar, right? So what teeth numbers would they be?
Oh, that's 12, 13.
12, 13, which one?
Can you repeat the
Root?
What?
Both. That has two roots
12 and 13?
and 4 and 5.
So again, we're
Oh.
talking about first premolar,
Oh,
right?
so
5 and 12.
Like- baby
Yeah,
teeth?
there's only two. There's not four, because 4 and 13 are second premolars.
Okay.
Okay. So if they're giving you a question, make sure you knew that answer. I don't know who just answered that. Was that Natalia?
Yes.
Okay. So you knew that answer, but you were giving me the wrong answer.
Right.
Like, you knew it. You said maxillary first premolars. That's correct. But then when you told me the answer, you were giving me the wrong one. So really stop and think before you guys answer your questions. Okay.
Excuse me, miss, can you repeat the question?
Which premolar has two roots?
Thank you.
I'm just going to go down these and like read the questions she sent me. And so it looks like, oh, here. Sorry, she sent me so many of them. I want to make sure I get all of them for you. What are the different anesthesia cartridge colors? So let's talk about the different anesthesia. What would we use on a regular patient without high blood pressure? What kind of anesthesia?
Lidocaine, the red one.
It's red, and tell me about it. When you write it in your chart, you're just not writing lidocaine. You're writing a series of information, right? I don't know if you guys write up your own charts, but either way, it's lidocaine, 2%, right? 2%, 1 to 100,000. That's a regular lidocaine cartridge, and it's red. And in your office, it might be xylocaine, which is like a name brand, right? But the base name is lidocaine. And it's lidocaine 2%, 1 to 100,000. All right. What? Say
Would you
again?
be able to upload these questions?
Say again?
Would you be able to upload these questions?
To upload them? I mean, I can type them out in our classroom. Is that what you want me to do?
Do you mind, please?
No.
Okay.
You should still write them though.
No, I'm just saying because I missed out on like the after you were asking about the mandibular. So for a couple questions, I just wanted to review them, but I am ready.
Okay. So the only question, you only missed one question. That's which premolar tooth has 2 roots. And you do ortho, so you should know this.
First premolar.
So what numbers are first premolar, upper or lower?
Upper.
And what tooth numbers are they?
We usually we break the.
But they're going to ask universal.
I know.
So you have to know universal. If you look in the back of your MDA book, like literally like that back cover, all the universal numbers are there.
Let me check. Let me see. Ah, good hit.
And then right above the universal numbers are the numbers you use.
Okay.
So here's what I tell my students who don't know the universal numbers.
So would it be
Okay.
14?
No, what's 14?
Oh no, hold on. Wait, I'm looking to the number for permanent. No, permanent.
14 is first molar.
Oh, first primo. Okay.
Mhm.
So it would be 12,
And
13.
nope. 13 second premolar. What's the first premolar on the other side?
Oh, it would be 12 and 5.
Correct. Okay. So this is
Those
what I
are
tell
two
my
roots.
students. This is what I tell my students who don't know their teeth numbers. I teach radiology class, and the problem with teaching radiology is it's one chapter of like an entire thing. So what I tell all my students, and even when I'm just teaching my dental assisting students, when they start out, I tell them, make an X like this. Can you guys see that?
Yeah.
And then in your upper left corner, put an R for the patient's upper right, okay? And then write in your third molars, because everybody knows them, right? 1, 16, 17, 32. And write your middle teeth, which everybody knows. And if these are the only 8 numbers you know, count from there. Okay? This is especially for you, Nikki. So if you don't know your teeth numbers, right? And you just know these 8 numbers, you can count. Okay? Is that what I suggest? No, I suggest you know your teeth numbers. But if you don't, no judgment here, write your third molars and write your centrals and count. Because you know it's going to go third molar, second molar, first molar, second premolar, first premolar, canine lateral central, right? You know the way the teeth go. You're taking, you guys are taking x-rays on them.
You know how I would think maybe another way would work for me is by doing exactly what you did, but doing the right side and the left side. But then since we do 1 through 8, I just do 1, 2, 3, 4, and then I put the numbers on top. What do you think about that?
Whatever works for you. I'm just saying, if you don't know any numbers and you use these 8 numbers, you can just always count from there. You do you, Nick. I mean, you do what works for you. It doesn't matter to me. I want you guys to pass.
I think that what you just showed me.
I tell them, like, when you go in to take your test, I don't know if I think they can give you a piece of scrap paper, right?
Yeah, they give you like a little board with a
Just
marker.
draw that. If you want to draw all the numbers, Nick, draw all the numbers. I don't care. I'm just saying, like, that's 8 numbers. That's all you need to remember, and you can count from there. Right?
Okay. Can I see that again?
Oh, yeah. I just tell them, as soon as you go in, draw your cross, draw your R, right, where the patient's upper right is.
16, 17. Okay.
Oh, I didn't write 30. That should be 32. I'm sorry. That's my bad. You're like, 3? What's that? I mean, I know my teeth numbers, but, I'm just saying, like, this, just to kind of, like, reiterate it with yourself. Does that make sense?
Yes, I got it. Thank you.
I just feel like if you have that in front of you, you're not going to mix yourself up. Right?
Yes.
Then you won't get confused about teeth numbers. You just look down like it's just in front of you already. You won't get confused about patients left and right. It's in front of you. So I just, like, if you have something that you can use, just use it, right? I don't, yeah. Okay. Anyway. All right. So what about if you have a patient that has high blood pressure, what kind of anesthesia are you going to use on them?
Carbocaine.
Carbocaine. But what is carbocaine? What's the percentage?
It usually has no epinephrine or
It usually has what?
it has
Maybe.
no epinephrine.
Okay.
It has no epi, that's correct, but it's carbocaine 3%.
Okay.
Okay. I don't know what questions they're asking you about this. I'm just telling you in general, carbocaine has 3%.
And I'm sorry, and lidocaine has 200.
2%,
Okay.
1 to 100,000.
Okay.
So like when I write up my chart, we used 3 carpules, lidocaine, 2%, 1 to 100,000. Like that's what I always write out. That's what I've always written out. If I use mepivacaine, which is the same as carbocaine, I'll write, 1 cartridge carbocaine or 1 cartridge mepivacaine, 3% without epi. Okay.
And what color is that? Because lidocaine is red.
That's tan, or like a light tan color.
Carbocaine is light tan.
So
And what
epi,
about lidocaine?
and it doesn't have epi, right? So lidocaine's red, carbocaine's tan. Endo instruments, we're going to continue on with our instrument today, so I'll continue on with them. Implant procedure steps, we'll go over that today. Composite procedure steps, let's just talk about the composite procedure steps.
I'm sorry, one question.
Yeah.
For the different anesthesia colors, so there's just red and tan. Isn't there a green one?
So the green one is lidocaine,
Right.
2%, 1 to 50,000. So what is that used for?
For implants.
It's used for like infiltration. You use it if you want to like stop bleeding during a crown procedure.
Right.
Which one was that?
That's not going to be on there. That's why I'm not talking about it.
Okay, so forget
Oh,
it.
okay.
Do you know what I'm saying? Like that's not going to be on there.
Okay.
The only other one that I say,
Need to know the colors, red and tan.
so it's red and tan. The only other one that could be on there is, but I really don't think so, is going to be, oh my God, I just had a brain fart. Oh my God. It's the 4% one that's used for infiltration, and now I'm having a brain fart. It's septicaine, sorry. So septicaine is 4%. It's gold, and it's used for infiltration. So if you're, let's say you're working,
Also lidocaine, 4%? So is lidocaine 4%?
No, lidocaine was 2%.
septicaine is the only other one that I would feel like is important.
So septocaine is 4%.
Right, and it's used for infiltration. For example, if you were working on tooth number 23, do you want to do a nerve block? I mean, you could.
Right.
But you might just want to infiltrate that one tooth, right?
Okay.
So if you're infiltrating one tooth, you want to use septicaine 4%. But again, I'm fairly certain. I don't think they're going to get, I can't really say, I haven't taken the test in 20 years. But it would be my opinion that lidocaine and carbocaine would be the 2 that you'd want to know. And not the green one, like, yeah. Okay. Because those other ones are used for specific time frames. Do you know what I mean? Like the 2 big ones are lidocaine 2%, 1 to 100, and carbocaine 3% without epi. Right?
And for kids, what they use?
For kids, they would use lidocaine. They would just not use as much, right? Because it goes by weight, but still lidocaine.
Okay.
Unless the child had some sort of heart problem or blood pressure problem. Or sometimes they don't use anesthesia at all with kids, right?
Yeah.
It depends on, it depends on the kid. I know I'm awful. I don't let my son get numb because I feel like the getting numb part is worse than the filling, right? Okay.
Come, dame ese pillow.
I don't understand what's happening. Is somebody missing from our class? No, right? Anyway, okay, whatever. So another question is for a medical emergencies. What is syncope?
Fainting.
Fainting. Okay, and what position should the patient be in if they're in syncope?
They should be upright.
They should be upright?
Wait,
No,
upright is
the head should be lower than their body.
Legs supposed to be up.
Right.
And what is that position called? Begins with an S.
Something.
Supine.
Say
Supine.
it again.
Supine position.
Okay, thanks.
S-U-P-I-N-E. Right? Is that all coming back to you? We want the legs above the head.
Right.
If the patient's sitting up, they're going to pass out. We don't want to sit them up.
Right.
Sometimes even sitting them up quickly is going to make them
Yeah.
dizzy. So, okay.
the patient with syncope should be supine.
Oh.
Yeah.
We do have another student. Sorry. Good morning, Lysander. Your mute is on, but good morning. Yes, so supine. All right. Okay, so let's talk about the composite. Lysandra, just to catch you up, one of my students in my regular dental assistant class took their chairside exam yesterday, and they passed, but they sent me like 40 questions. So I'm real quick going over those questions with you, and then we'll continue on with our learning. Okay, so I figure if they're on the test yesterday, they're going to be on your test too, or at least something similar to them. So, all right, let's talk about composite procedure steps. So a patient is going to have a composite procedure. So take me from the patient walking in the room to the end of the procedure. So what's the first thing we do? We have them sit down, right? Put on their bib, right?
Right.
Okay. We have the x-ray up on the screen.
Right.
Okay. What's the first thing we do?
Update their medical history.
We update their medical history, right? We get them numb. So let's say they are doing tooth number, good morning, Lysander. Let's say they're doing tooth number 20. What kind of numbing are we going to use?
Lidocaine,
We're going to use lidocaine. What percent?
it's 0.099
2%.
or 2%.
It's 2%, 1 to 100,000. Okay. What color is the cartridge, Lysander?
Red,
Thank you. Okay, red. And then it's a lower tooth. So what kind of numbing are we going to do on them?
a block,
A mandibular nerve block, right? And on tooth number 20, where is that mandibular nerve block going to be?
a lower. Hold on. I have to see 1, 2, 16. On the lower left.
Yeah, so I just told everyone, as soon as you get to your test, write this down.
Okay.
So this is like patience right, your wisdom teeth and your centrals, just to kind of click your memory, like, oh, okay, that's lower left. You know what I'm saying? I that's my opinion. You don't have to do it, but I'm just saying it's in front of you. So you're like,
Yeah,
all right,
it's a quickie. It's a quick cheat
just
sheet.
yeah. Okay, so tooth number 20, we're gonna get them numb, mandibular nerve block, lower left, where? Where's the mandibular nerve block? Is it next to tooth number 20?
No, it's next to tooth number 17.
All the way in the back, right?
All the way in the back.
Okay. So they're numb. Now they're numb. Where are they numb from? What tooth to what tooth?
From
I'm being really specific on you here. They're,
17 to 24.
17 to 24, right? Numb all through that area. Okay. So now they're numb. What's our next step?
Start.
Tell me about it.
drill.
Start drilling.
Start drilling. What burr?
Uh,
Oh, I didn't even
I
tell
don't
you the surfaces.
557.
If it's an MO, a DO, an MOD, yes, I would say 557.
Okay.
What if it's a buckle class 5?
Maybe an inverted cone.
Either a small inverted cone or like a 330, right? You want a small burr, a little burr.
Right.
Okay. So, so a 557 is a flat end cross fissure, right? We're going to go over burrs today, but that gets out all the decay. So you've gotten out all the decay now with the drill. What's our next step? It's an MOD on number 20.
You got to use the curette to spoon whatever else is in there.
So we've gotten all the decay out. We've used
you
the
have to
spoon.
use the
It's not a curette. So a
Duffer-Meyer.
curette, here's the thing. A curette is a surgical instrument. What you're talking
Okay.
about is a spoon excavator.
Okay. I don't know the terms for general dentistry.
But you have to. They're going to be on your general
All
chair
right,
side test.
all right.
So we're going to do that.
Okay.
That's why I'm here.
Okay.
Okay. But it looks kind of like a curette. You
Okay.
work
So
in oral
it's-
surgery? Is that
what's
what
it what's it called? A spoon excavator?
Yep. Okay, so now we've gotten all the decay out with the burr, with the spoon excavator. What's our next step?
It's the Duffer-Meyer
Tafelmeyer with a,
with the wedge and the matrix band.
correct, okay? Tafelmeyer with a wedge and a matrix band. So we're gonna put the Tafelmeyer on. Where are the wedges gonna go? Surfaces or MOD? Where are the wedges gonna go?
Between the teeth?
Between what teeth?
Between 21
21.
and
So if it's an MOD, it's gonna go in front of and behind that.
Right.
tooth.
Right. Right.
If it was just an MO, it would just go where?
21. Right.
If
It's
it's
an MO,
just an MO, it would go between 20 and 21.
21. Right.
If it's just a DO, it would go between 19 and 20.
Mhm.
But since it's an MOD, it's going to go between 19 and 20 and 20 and 21. Okay, the wedges. Yeah.
Right.
Okay, so we put our matrix bands on. How do we put our matrix bands on? Tell me when you put your matrix band on, because this was one of the questions too. Hold on. Which side of the band should be on the vise, the narrow or the wider side?
The narrow.
So the wider side goes on the what area of the tooth?
The conclusion.
Right, because think of how a tooth is shaped, right? It
Right.
gets wider as it goes up,
Right.
right? Every tooth. So when you put that matrix band on, the wider side is going to be towards the crown.
Right.
The narrower side is going to be towards the root of the tooth, okay? So we have our matrix band on, we have our wedges in. What's our next step?
Edge.
Etch.
Dry the tooth.
So
Rinse
we
it.
put the etch on. How long does the etch stay on for? I'm being really specific with you guys.
30
'Cause again, I
30
don't,
seconds.
30 seconds. And then what do we do with the etch?
You take it off. You
you
remove
rinse it out,
We rinse it and then we,
dry it.
and what are we looking for when we dry it?
porous,
Cloudy.
For it to dry and cloudy.
Like a cloudy look to the tooth, right?
mhm.
Okay. So now we've had our etch. What's our next step?
Primer.
Then you
Right.
If you use a primer, or sometimes they're put together and it's a prime
Right.
and
Bond.
Composite.
prime and bond.
Oh,
Always have to get bond on there. I don't care that much about primer, but yes, okay. Usually nowadays the primer's in the bond.
okay.
Okay. So what does the primer do?
To help to
First off, what does the etch do?
You mean etch and bond? Yeah.
No, prime. So originally it was etch, primer, bond, composite. Okay. That's the original. They have since, then they put the prime and bond together, and it was literally called prime and bond, which some of
Right.
them still are. Then they put the etch into the bond too.
Right.
Okay. So, but if they're asking the question and etch is in there, etch goes first.
Oh, okay.
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 So what does etch do?
remove the smile layer.
Correct. Okay. And it like
open.
roughens up the
It
tooth.
makes it porous.
Correct. Okay. So you remove the smear layer with the etch and it makes the tooth porous. That's why it becomes cloudy. All right. If you use primer, all the primer does is prime the tooth for the bond, which is why they ended up putting them together. But
Okay.
20 years ago, they were separate. Okay. So what does the bond do? Just think about the word. Even if you've never used it.
Adheres the material.
Composite to the tooth.
Correct. It sets up the tooth to be able to bond the tooth to the composite, right? And then, of course, our next step is the,
Composite.
now, what instruments
Light.
do we use to place the composite?
And you also need light if he's not good light, right?
Your bonding comes light.
No, no,
Right.
no.
After you bond the tooth, you
need
spray
to-
it with air to spread it,
Mhm.
and then you light cure it.
Right.
Okay. What's our next step? We put composite. How do we place the composite? With what instrument?
A condenser,
And
a burnisher.
Plastic.
plastic,
and
right?
a plastic instrument.
Sometimes a plastic instrument has a condenser on the other end of it,
Mm-hmm.
right? It's also called a Woodson. Okay, so now we've put, why do we use the condenser?
Pack it in.
Yeah, to pack it in. And why do we use the plastic instrument or the burnisher?
to
To
smooth
smooth
it
it
out.
out and
shape it.
shape it.
Shape it.
And
Right.
then what do we do?
Cure it.
We light cure it, right?
I gotta say that I'm so lost. I
Because you
feel
work
so
in ortho.
lost.
Okay, so where did you get lost?
Like after the part of the etch and then putting the bonding, it's like what comes next, like those
Okay,
parts.
so think about ortho. You guys do the same thing when you put brackets on. You etch it,
Mhm.
clean off the etch, you put the bond on the tooth, and you place and then you cure it, and then you place the composite,
Okay.
right?
Mhm.
And then you put on your bracket and you cure it. It's no different. It's just that instead of putting a bracket on, you're reshaping the tooth.
Okay.
In order to, when you place the composite, so think about it, we've drilled out an area, okay?
Mhm.
We want that composite to be packed all the way in, otherwise there's going to be voids in there. Just kind of think about it like that, all right?
Okay.
So we use literally a packer or a condenser to push it in so that it covers all the areas. All right? Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. A plastic instrument is, I'll show it to you again. We looked at it last week, but a plastic instrument is an instrument with like a straight edge. You guys use them in ortho too, to kind of shape when you're putting the, like maybe your doctor, maybe she put too much composite on and they want to take a little bit off. So they use a plastic instrument to do that. The plastic instrument is going to shape that composite. Okay. And then we
Okay.
cure it. It's not that much different in ortho. You just have to think about the tooth in a different way. But I
And
can't
also
make
to
you
go
do
over a
that. You
lot.
have to think about it. So you drill out the tooth, you do etch the same, you do bond the same, you cure it, you put your composite on, and you have to pack it into the area that you've now made that void in, right?
Mhm.
And then you cure it. So now we have to take off the
Matrix.
matrix bands, and we have to reshape the tooth with a
With the football diamond, with the
some sort of finishing burr, right? Either a football diamond, between the teeth, maybe we want to
Rhinestone.
use, yeah, okay? So that is your steps for composite. How do we check that after we smooth the area and get it back to where it's supposed to be, how do we check it?
Oxygen band,
Articulating paper.
articulating paper.
Correct, right? We use an articulator with articulating paper in it, and we check the bite, right? Otherwise known as the mastication, okay? So we check that, and then we adjust accordingly, and then we're done, right? So that's the procedure from soup to nuts, every little nuance of it, okay?
Do you think they can ask about when we place the doctor placed the anesthesia, what side to side, like what tooth number is supposed to numb?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So let's talk about that for a second. For upper teeth, where do you have to get the teeth numb?
The top,
But where?
in the area where you are removing the tooth or doing the cavity.
Right. Right
There's
next
no
to
block.
the tooth.
Yeah, there's no block on
There's
top.
no block on top. Okay. If you're doing the bottom and you're doing a block, the block goes from the wisdom tooth to the central, which, guess what, guys? You already have written down on your cheat sheet paper that you wrote when you came in. Okay. From the wisdom tooth to the central. That's where it gets numb on the bottom.
And on
but
the
when you
top is
say-
different?
Yes,
The
there's
top
no
doesn't have
nerves.
a block.
But when
No
you
nerve
said,
block.
No.
when you said goes, if it's a MOD, it's different than MO. They can ask things like that.
They can ask anything. So
Hmm.
I just wanted to go over with you. Sure. So if it's an MO filling that we're doing, where would you place the wedge for tooth number 20? An MO.
Mesial, right.
Mesial, but between what teeth for 20?
Number tooth, you said?
Hmm?
What's
20.
the number? 20? So between 21 and 20.
Right. So think about where 20 is and then think about the tooth that's mesial to it,
Right.
right? If it was a DO, it would be between what teeth?
19.
19 and
19 and 20. I'm throwing like scenarios out there for you. I don't know the exact thing that they're going to ask you, but if you know,
I got it now, but I got it. Thank you.
but if you know all this information, then it doesn't really matter what tooth they ask you, you're going to know how to get the answer. So I'm just giving you an example, but you're going to know how to get the answer. Okay. So good. Let's see. So how about needle size? What needle would you use to do a mandibular nerve block? What color is the needle, first off?
Yellow.
yellow.
And what size is that?
27 gauge.
27. Gauge 27. What about the upper?
Blue.
Blue.
Blue. And what's the gauge?
30 gauge.
30. Okay, she said they asked her a question about needle gauge.
Is there more gauges? Other than
Those are
the
the
two?
only two. I
Oh.
mean, are there more? Yeah, there's a pedo
Well, right.
one, but
Right.
again,
The ones that we need to know.
Yeah.
I'm going to say Lido, Carbo, 30 gauge blue, 27 gauge yellow. I mean, how specific can they get is my question. And so okay, so let's look at it this way too. If you know 27 and 30, and you know 30 is the blue for the top, then you know 30 is a bigger or smaller needle.
Oh, smaller.
Right. So the bigger the gauge number, the smaller the needle. And you know that just because you're saying 27 on the bottom, 30 on the top. So if they were like, hey, what would you use a 35 gauge needle for? In my mind, I would say pedo, right? I know
'Cause it's
there's a
way
pink
smaller.
needle that's pedo. I don't use it, but
It will be thinner. Okay.
okay.
Mhm.
So just by what you know, you can deduct answers from that. And I really want you guys to take the test like that. Especially you, Nikki. You second guess yourself all the time. Like, you know this. All right. Okay. There was a question about what muscle, or not muscle, what bone connected the orbit of the eye to the mouth. Is that what you wrote?
What bone connects the
The
what?
orbital and the floor of the cranium. The orbital and the floor of the cranium.
¿Cómo?
Can you repeat that one more time, Nicole, please?
What bone connects, sorry, this keeps like flying away. What bone connects the orbital to the floor of the cranium? So think about you guys take a panoramic x-ray, right?
Mhm.
This lower bone is TMJ,
Mandible.
right?
Mhm.
It's the mandible, but it's also the temporomandibular joint, or right? So this is the mandible. What is the bone up here called?
Would it be the temporal?
It is the temporal, but what? It begins with a Z.
The zygomatic bone.
Zygomatic bones, right? So the zygomatic bones are going to connect up here to the orbit.
Okay.
All right.
So I said the zygomatic bones connect the
So you have your MDA books?
yes.
So turn to page 106.
Okay.
You see that head at the top?
Yes.
I don't know what I have a 12 here.
Okay.
So see where the zygomatic bone is and see how it hits the orbit?
Yes.
Orbital is the eye, right?
in the book on page 101, it says next to zygomatic, it says there's two, and it says forma the prominence of the cheeks and part of the orbit.
Correct.
But you could see a better picture on 106 because it shows like the skeleton, and it shows like the facial of the woman, and it
That's
shows
what I wanted you to look at. Yeah, 106 at the top.
it has like a better view because it shows like the
It's
bottom
showing
of
where
the
they're connecting. Yep.
yeah, the orbital bone, and then you could see like the
The
side of
zygomatics
the mandible. Yeah.
Mhm. Let's see. Okay, let's talk about alginate mixing. Nikki, you got this one, right? Okay, let's talk about the process of mixing alginate.
Okay.
What's the ratio for alginate to water?
Is it equal parts?
So what's the ratio?
1 to 1.
1 to 1. Okay. For upper, we use how many scoops and how much water? There's a number, a correct number.
Oh my God.
2 scoops.
Huh?
B.
What'd you
Two-
say? 3? Yeah. 3 for upper, 2 for lower.
It depends how
No.
big the mouth is.
It's always 3.
3
Yeah.
for upper, 2 for lower. It does, yes, sure, it depends when you're in an office. But when you're learning, it's 3 for upper, 2 for lower. And if you use 3 scoops, how much water do you use?
3.
Water.
3 to
parts.
3, right? It's 1 to 1. Okay.
3 and
Listen,
3.
I throw alginate in a bowl and put, you
I don't
know.
even
like
measure
this.
it. Yeah, me neither. I don't.
Hmm? Say that again?
They tell us in our office to like eye it.
Okay, right. But there's a way to do it. There's a correct way to do it. Okay. And the correct way is 3 for upper, 2 for lower. What goes in the bowl first? Don't think about the way you do it at your office. Think about the way it's supposed to be done.
The alginate goes first.
Powder.
No, the water. No way.
We've been doing it wrong forever.
No way.
I don't do it that way either.
am in shock.
The water goes first.
Water goes first.
Oh wow.
We
I
all
don't
do
do
it
it that
wrong.
way either. I know. I don't do it that way either. But water goes first.
Oh wow.
Okay, I gotta write this down.
And water goes. I gotta tell that to my office. Oh,
Water goes first. Okay. I only know that because I teach it.
oh my God.
Water goes
That's
first.
crazy.
Because, so let's think about why. And maybe
Wait,
it'll
did you
make
say
more
why
sense.
the water? What? How much water?
Well, how much
Like-
water?
Like,
If
it
the upper
depends.
gets
It's the
3,
same.
it's
well,
1 to
it's
1,
1 to 1, so 3.
right? Yeah. So water is exact, right? You have the little measuring thing, you go to 3, and that's exact. What can differentiate with the alginate? Whether it's packed, whether it's fluffy, right?
Yeah.
So the alginate has some sense of differential to it. The water is always going to be the same. Like there's no, you can't mess up the water. It doesn't matter if it's packed tightly. It doesn't matter if it's fluffed. You can't mess up the water. 3 is 3 is 3. So that's why the water goes in first. Okay. And then when you do the alginate, you take the scoop, and what do you do with the scoop? So you have your spatula right here. What are you supposed to do?
You
with
have to remove the excess.
and then remove it flat, right?
Pack it.
You don't want to pack it down. You want to
No,
Top.
tap it.
smooth,
Smooth and scoop. Throw it.
okay? But sometimes you don't need as much as they say you need, but you always need that water. So if you think about it that way, I mean, it does make sense. Quite honestly, at my job, I don't do it that way either. I don't measure, but the correct way to do it
Either. Yeah.
is water first, then alginate. Then what do you do with it?
So
Mix
then
it.
you have to
How do you mix it?
mix it very
Just
Fine.
mix it.
fast.
So you mix it and then you start to do what with it?
Like removing the bubbles, you put it to the side.
You smooth it against the side to remove the bubbles, right?
And sometimes you
Mhm.
even have like a vibrator that, well, we have that in my office. I don't know, to kind of help it while you're mixing it.
Isn't the vibrator for when you pouring the impression?
So don't talk about the vibrator because that's not how you mix alginate. You might do that in your office, but that's not how you mix alginate,
Oh, okay.
okay? You push it against the sides to remove the air bubbles. Now, if we're doing an upper, how do we place the alginate into the upper tray?
Say that again. How to what?
How do you place, so you have your alginate, it's mixed smooth.
Right.
How do you put it into the tray? There's a way to put it into the tray. That's correct.
You start in the front of the tray.
In the back.
Now,
In the middle,
You take one big scoop, you scoop it into the back of the tray and then smooth it towards the front.
oh, okay.
If you think about it, so you're holding the handle, you don't put it on the back? You don't do that like that?
I put in the front.
The front by the handle?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Does
by
it
the
make a
handle
mess?
where the teeth are.
Okay,
No,
so
we
that's
do
not
it.
how you're
We
supposed to
pour it
load
on
the
the.
tray.
We pour it on the back, and then we let it roll a little bit around, and then we start.
no, but this
You're
is
talking about pouring a model. You're not talking about alginate.
alginate.
Alginate is how you take the model.
Oh,
We're talking about pouring a model.
Impression.
yes, you're right.
We're taking
Alginate is pink or purple. You take one scoop, you put the scoop on the back of the upper tray and smooth it towards the front. Okay? And where should most of the material be on the upper tray? Towards the back or the front?
back.
Towards the front.
Not towards the
Towards
back.
the
Towards the front. That's where the teeth
teeth.
are.
Uh,
Okay? So you have the tray full, then what do?
you go
You
to
place it in the mouth.
place in the mouth. Yeah.
You smooth it out, remove excess, and
How do
then
you
place
smooth it out?
with the spatula.
You take water
Wait, you
Oh.
on your finger
right,
and
with
you
water, and then
smooth it.
Oh, okay.
Okay? You know what? I've been doing alginate. I take the same alginate impression for 20 years. I always put it into the back, smooth it to the front, go over, get water, and smooth it.
Okay.
And then you place it in the mouth. How do you place it in the mouth? Which part goes in first?
The side.
The side, yeah.
The back.
Well,
Back to front. Right? And where are you standing?
Back of the patient.
To take an alginate impression, you're on the upper, you're standing behind the
The
patient.
patient.
patient
Okay?
holding the impression tray.
Holding the impression, which you seat back to front. All right? Let's switch gears. Let's do a lower impression. So, how many scoops?
2,
2.
2. How much water?
2.
2.
two.
Which goes in first?
Water.
Correct. We still do it the same way. We smooth the alginate against the side of the bowl. How do we place that alginate into a lower tray?
We
You,
started.
if the front of the patient, you place
We're
it on the
placing,
back.
no.
On the tray. Can
How
you
do we
put
place
on the
alginate?
tray?
tray?
Oh,
If it's lower,
and then
On the lower tray. How do we place the alginate into the lower tray?
Front first.
From where on the tray?
from the middle to the sides.
2 equal parts
Right.
on the lingual of the tray.
Oh.
So the tray is shaped like this, right?
Uh-huh.
You're going to take half of the material, place it here from the
And
lingual.
the other half.
The other half, place it here from the lingual, then smooth it into the front. Then you're going to take water on your finger and smooth it.
Okay.
Okay? And then where are you going to stand to take that lower impression?
In front of the patient?
in front of the patient. And you're gonna seat which part of the tray first?
The back?
Always the back. Seat the back, lower the front. Okay?
Do we still tell the patient to stick out their tongue?
Yeah.
Yeah, you can tell they don't have to, yeah, they can lift their tongue, they can stick out their tongue. I mean, when I do an upper impression, I push the patient's head forward too, so that they,
Yeah, they don't feel like dying.
but is that necessary? The things you want to know is how many scoops, where to place it on the tray, where you're standing, and how to place that tray. All right? We're learning so much today. Okay.
Nicole,
Yeah.
real quick.
Yep.
So for the upper impression, you stand behind the patient and
Correct.
pour the alginate, the material.
You don't pour. There's no
I mean-
pouring in alginate.
I
It
keep
sticks in
thinking
the
about
bowl.
Okay, you how do you say it then? You place it,
Placed.
or
Uh-huh.
you place the material from the back?
Are you placing the material or the tray?
No, I'm not placing it in the tray yet. No, I'm placing it in the tray. Yes.
Okay, so you're not putting it in the patient's mouth yet. I don't care where you stand when you place it in the tray.
Okay.
When you place it in the tray, you put it on your spatula and place it from the back of the tray. One scoop, back of the tray. Push it towards the front, water on your finger, smooth it. Stand behind the patient, place the tray in the patient's mouth from the back to the front, and wait for it to set up.
Okay.
Okay?
And if I place on the tray on the for the upper tray, I start in the back, right? If I do it on the
Lower, you start in the back.
yes, for
You always,
mandibular,
why do you want to place the back teeth first? What's different about the back teeth than the front?
they need more material, maybe.
They're bigger.
They're bigger.
Okay, so you want to make sure that's in line. Because if you place the front and then you try to push it down, what if you're in the wrong area?
No, but I was
The
asking,
back dictates the front.
but I was asking when you place the material in the tray.
Oh, in the tray. I'm sorry. Yes.
Yes. So if you go for the mandibular,
You want to place it from the lingual.
lingual.
2 equal parts from
Lingual.
both sides of the lingual.
Okay. If you go maxillar, you start for you
The
place
back.
it-
One part, one scoop from the back of the tray.
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay. Like I said, sometimes it's to your advantage that you work in an office, and sometimes it's to your disadvantage. Because when you do on the job training, I'm not saying you guys probably take beautiful impressions, right? But it doesn't mean you're doing it the way that it's supposed to be done. There are 1,000 ways, right? But the way it's supposed to be done is this way. So there was some sort of question about immediate dentures. Does everybody know what an immediate denture is?
It's after the extraction, right away, the patient goes home with the denture.
Correct. And what happens in that denture throughout the next few months?
Needs to be
It
relaxed.
gets loosened up
Why does it get loosened up?
because the gums shrink.
Correct. Okay, so the gums shrink. Also with an immediate denture, you want to make sure that patient is wearing that denture, right? At least for the first few days. Because first, everything's going to swell. And if they're not wearing the denture, what's going to happen?
They're not going to be able to insert it back in.
Correct. Okay. What about sutures? How long before they come back to get sutures removed?
7 days.
1 week.
7 to 10 days. Okay. What kind of suture is goes away by itself?
The lower.
Chromic or chromic sutures or plain gut sutures.
Not plain gut. Oh, yeah. So gut sutures, right? Chromic and they're called resorbable. Okay. And what kind of sutures do you need to come back for?
Silk,
Silk.
polyester, and
Silk. Okay.
I didn't hear that last part.
Silk sutures need to be removed by you.
We talked about this last time, right? About sutures.
I don't know if we did.
I
I don't think I got to
I don't
sutures.
think so.
Maybe. I don't think I got to sutures.
about the scissors to remove the sutures.
What do the scissors look? Oh, we talked about the scissors. What do the scissors look like to remove the sutures?
Pointy.
They have a what in them?
A curve.
Like a divot in them. Actual suture scissors have a divot in them. All right, and that's so you can get under the suture with it and cut. All right.
Like this way you teach, because you ask, and when you ask, we check ourselves, our knowledge is good.
This is honestly, this is how I learn best. I can't speak for everyone else, but I learn best by talking about stuff. So I'm not saying that you can't, you can sit and read the book if that's how you learn. I'm not saying don't do that. Just for me, I don't learn very well like that. All right, I want you guys to turn to, where did I see this? Okay, turn to page 903 in your MDA book, because this question was on there too, and I want to talk about it.
Okay.
What is a pulp cap?
Pulp cap. It's when you don't remove all the decay, you just clean the cavity.
Why do we place a pulp cap? Think about the words. Pulp cap. If the cavity is really
Deep.
to protect the
Pulp.
okay, like just look at the words.
So they're talking about oh my god, a liner. What's
Correct.
The tooth is still vital.
Yes, the tooth is still vital. So there's two types of pulp caps. There's an indirect, right?
And direct.
So indirect pulp cap is a temporary procedure.
Correct. That's where whoever just said that, Maria. So an indirect pulp cap is where all of it's not removed and you put the liner in for a period of time and then go back to remove the decay.
And what is the direct?
A direct pulp cap is when the pulp is partially exposed, and we usually use calcium hydroxide. What's the brand name for calcium hydroxide?
Dical.
Dical. Okay, and what kind of instrument do we use?
Oh, it's a dical
instrument. Dical instrument. Okay, and it looks like it has a little handle and it has a ball at the end of it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So a direct pulp cap is when the pulp becomes exposed a little bit and we put that pulp cap right on top in order to cover it and protect the tooth and the pulp. An indirect is going to be when it starts to get deep, we put the cap on before we get to the bottom of the decay. Our intentions on doing that is that the tooth build itself more dentin before we get to the bottom of that filling.
Okay.
Okay?
Mm-hmm.
The goal is to give the pulp a chance to form more dentin beneath the carious dentin. All right, so that's why we do indirect. So indirect is not going to hit the pulp directly. Direct is going to be right directly on that opening to protect the tooth and to protect from sensitivity, really. Okay.
What can you place on when you do an indirect pulp cap? You put what, IRM, for instance?
I would put IRM. That's what but they are saying they're using calcium hydroxide for that too.
Okay, because honestly, for me, it's a little bit confused to understand the difference between direct and indirect, you know?
So indirect, you're not fully taking the whole cavity out.
Mm-hmm.
So you're drilling the cavity and you notice it's starting to get really deep. So rather than get to the end of that cavity, you stop, you put an indirect pulp cap on of calcium hydroxide, and then you fill it up with IRM or whatever on top of it.
Okay.
You wait a period of time, you come back, and then remove the carious lesion. And the point in doing that is that the pulp start to produce
Secondary dentin.
underneath the carious dentin.
Hmm.
Okay, so you don't get directly to the pulp. That's indirect.
Hmm.
Direct is you're drilling, you're like, uh-oh, we're pretty close to the pulp, or we've gotten to the pulp. And that's when you put that direct pulp cap on. Okay?
Okay.
Do you understand, or you want me to explain it a different way?
It's a,
Yes, please.
Yes,
it's
please,
a little
which?
bit confused. Yeah.
Explain it a little bit. Like,
Tell me which part you don't understand. So one of them, you finish drilling. You get all the caries out. You get all the decay out. But you're you're at the pulp. There's a pulp exposure. You put a cap on it to protect it. That's direct. You put the cap directly on that pulp exposure to protect it. And you fill the tooth in.
so
And
the
that
difference
time-
is like the indirect, you don't place it directly on the pulp. The
Because
direct,
you don't get to the bottom of the decay. You stop. You stop the procedure.
Mhm.
You stop the procedure before it gets to the pulp. You place the indirect pulp cap and then you leave it there in the hopes that the pulp starts producing more dentin underneath the decay so that when you go back to drill, you don't get into the pulp. Because what happens once you get into the pulp? What's the patient going to experience?
Pain.
Okay.
Sensitivity, pain, okay? And then what's the next step?
Root canal.
Root canal. So our goal is to avoid having to have the patient be in pain or have to get a root canal. I mean, if they need it, they need it. But that's not our goal. Right? Our goal is to keep our patients out of pain in the most conservative way that we can. Right? Okay.
So does this sound like correct what I wrote? So indirect pulp cap is temporary. Don't get directly to the pulp.
Correct.
You stop and let dentin produce under decay.
Correct. Exactly.
Okay. And for direct pulp, I said finish drilling to end, place cap directly to pulp.
Correct.
Okay.
Okay. And you want to inform your patient, hey, this was really deep. I put a pulp cap on, but if you experience severe sensitivity that doesn't go away and is keeping you up at night, you're probably going to need a root canal. Okay. When do we pack cord?
For crown prep.
Okay.
That's a question.
That's a question.
What is it?
When do we pack cord? What procedure?
Round prepping.
Mhm. When in the crown prepping. So let's go through, I don't know if it's on there or not, but let's just talk about it. So let's go through a crown prep procedure. The patient walks in, we bib them, we do health history, we do all our stuff. What's the first thing we do before we start drilling? Or before we get the patient numb, we do what?
Oxygenating pressure.
We take an impression, an initial impression, right?
Mm-hmm.
Why do we take that initial impression?
Make the temporary.
Make the temporary, right?
So I could FaceTime you. I'll FaceTime you, okay? Okay.
So Sandra, I don't know if you're talking to us. I mean, I can not exactly hear what you're saying.
I think I'm lost. I can't see anybody now, right now.
Okay. I can hear you now.
Okay, great. I got you.
Okay. Okay, so we get the patient numb. If we get them numb on top, we get them numb where?
The direct area of the tooth that's being worked
Right,
on.
next to the tooth. If we get them numb on the bottom, we get them numb where?
The block.
A block,
Nerve
right?
block.
Mandibular block. What needle do we use?
For mandibular, it's a 27.
Pete,
For
which is what
upper,
color?
it's yellow.
Yep. Upper, it's
Oh, so it's a
Blue.
number
Blue and it's a 30 gauge.
30.
and it's a short, right? We use a short for the top, a long for the bottom.
And thin.
And then, yes. Okay. Okay, so then how do we prep the tooth?
diamonds.
A drill,
Yeah.
We drill.
right?
Okay. If the patient's had a root canal, what do we also need to do?
A post.
Post and core.
Core, yeah.
Okay. So we do our post and core, we drill our tooth, we take it down to like a mini tooth, right? I call it a mini tooth. I'm sure that's. And then we have our, so we've prepped the tooth at this point, right? What burrs are we using to prep the tooth?
Uh,
After we've removed the decay, we're always going to remove the decay with some sort of 557,
Wow.
inverted cone, something like that. So we've removed it. Now, what burrs do we use to help prep that tooth?
Is it a diamond?
Different diamonds, okay? We want a skinny diamond to go around the outside. We want a football diamond for the top. And we want a camphor burr, or the one with it looks like this, almost like a little rocket ship, right? To make the edge.
What's that one called?
Camphor, CAMPHER, camphor diamond burr. To create the ledge around it, right? Okay. So we prep the tooth. So the dentist is like, okay, the tooth is prepped. Nicole, you take over. And what am I doing?
Then
What's
you
my
have to
next
place
step?
the cord.
What?
Oh, first you have to place the cord.
Can
No?
you take the impression for the temporary if the cord's in?
No.
Right? So you have your impression. We want to start making that temporary first, right?
Oh, no. Okay.
Okay, so we place the temporary material into our initial impression, have the patient bite down.
Mm,
Once it sets up, we take that impression out, then we pack the cord.
okay.
Because we can't take that impression if the cord is in,
Mhm.
So
right?
you have to remove the cord before you take the impression?
The final impression, yeah.
You have to remove the cord before you take the final impression.
Yes. If not, then the cord is going to be on the impression.
Okay.
Okay.
And why do we pack the cord?
To
To
remove the gums, separate the gums from the tooth?
Right? In order to make like a moat around the tooth, in order to separate that gum tissue from the tooth so that our final impression goes down into the gum. Do we want our crown sitting on top of the gum, or do we want our crown sitting in the gum so that it
In
looks
the
down?
gums. In the gums.
Okay. That's why we do that. To separate the gum tissue from the tooth. And what is the cord? What's on the cord?
You usually you have epinephrine or
Hemodent, right?
Hemodent, yes.
And that helps to stop the bleeding.
mhm.
Okay? It acts as a coagulant to stop the bleeding. All right? We pack the cord. We're making the temporary while that cord sits, right? Then the doctor comes back in. Which part is the doctor's part? Which part is our part? What
So
do
the
we
doctor has
place?
to take the impression, the final impression.
So what is the final impression? There's two types of material. There's
It's
light body and heavy body. Who places what and where does it go?
Oh, I place the light body.
You
No.
better not be.
Yeah. We place the heavy body into the tray.
We place the heavy body into the tray. The doctor places the light body around the tooth and the prep. Right?
So the assistant job is to place the
The
heavy body.
body into the tray. Okay. When do we use a perio pack?
Pushing the cord.
Is that a question? And
Not, and we're done with crown now. We're done with
perioperative.
crown.
Oh,
We're moving on
what?
to the next question.
When they have periodontic surgery.
oh, to check the patient has pockets in between the teeth and.
perioprobe, you said?
Not perioprobe, periopack.
Periopack.
Oh.
It's like after surgery.
Periopack looks like a giant wad of bubble gum.
Oh,
After perio surgery.
After perio or after oral surgery.
So place perio pack.
After
Af-
surgery.
Okay.
And what is perio pack again?
Periopack is, give me 1 second. Let me see if I can find periopack in our book. So I can show you what it is if you've never seen it.
Like a band-aid, right? A white band-aid. Made with a
Say that one more time.
it's like a band. You put it something white.
It's
or-
pink.
Yeah.
Oh, here, periodontal dressing.
Yeah, dressing.
Page 916 and 932. Okay, page 932. On the bottom right is periodontal dressing, otherwise known as periopack.
Oh.
Figure 55.34.
Yes. And there's a base and a catalyst. You do equal amounts of both and you mix it until it's, what's the word when it's completely mixed together called? Begins with an H.
Homogeneous.
Huh?
Homogeneous. H-O.
Homogeneous, right, yes.
One is what?
When homogeneous mixture means they're completely mixed together.
Homogenous. How do you spell that?
HOMOGENOUS. Is that right, Maria? I'm going off the top of my head. So here's the thing. Every single thing that you guys mix by hand needs to be homogeneous.
Okay.
Okay?
Mix a
Whether
lot
you're mixing Di-Cal. I know we don't do a whole lot of hand mixing anymore, but even if you're mixing IRM, it needs to be a homogeneous mixture, meaning completely mixed together. So the reason that we would use periodontal dressing or periopac, it's on page 932, it says periodontal surgical dressings. Okay? To hold the flaps of the gums in place, to protect newly forming tissue if you do like a tissue graft, to minimize post-op pain, infection, and hemorrhage, to protect the surgical site from trauma, and to support mobile teeth during healing. So I never worked for a periodontist, but I mean, I've worked with one before, but I never actually worked for a periodontist, but I did work in oral surgery for 10 years. And the procedure that we used to use periopac for was if we did, this should sound familiar to you, Nikki, if we did an exposure on a tooth, like if there was an impacted canine and we had to expose it for ortho and it was palatal. Okay, so we had to like cut away the palate, drill the bone to get to the tooth.
And then
And we would place a button on it with a chain to the patient's braces.
You have to activate
Place
it.
a periopac on top to stop, to help with pain, so the patient will be able to eat and drink, because I mean, there's a hole in their palate at this point until they can pull the tooth down.
Mm-hmm.
And that periopac should stay in place for about 10 days.
Oh, okay. So it stays there.
Mm-hmm.
Now, does it come off by itself, or
It does not come off by itself.
Okay.
Well, it should not come off by itself. How about that?
It usually does.
I mean, think about all the stuff you do with your mouth all day.
Yeah.
It should not come off by itself.
Right.
In order to remove it, they should have to come back, and we should have to go back in and remove it.
Does
Okay,
that
at that
require
point, it's
numbing?
hard. Huh?
Does that require numbing to remove?
Mm-mm.
So then what happens? The hole stays there, and then
So what happens to tissue? Mouth heals so quickly, right?
Right.
So what happens is the tissue heals back up, but the chain that we've put on
Still exposed
and connected, and ortho does their job and pulls the tooth down.
Each visit we activate it.
Right? So our job as oral surgeons was to expose it and place the button and the chain, the link chain, the gold chain. And then for ortho, their job is to activate it or pull that tooth down. That's what ortho does. Ortho changes the position of your teeth. So that heals back up. The tooth is still up there, but now there's a hole in the bone, and there is a chain coming out so that it can be activated and it can be pulled down. Okay. Let's see if she gave me any other questions.
Excuse me for a second. I have to go use the restroom.
Yeah, of course. To you. They asked a question about fluoride and glass ionomer. So let's look up that real quick and figure out what question they asked about it. Is there fluoride in glass ionomer? How about that question? Does anyone know?
No, I don't know what that
What
is.
is glass ionomer?
I don't know what that is.
Okay. Something called Fuji.
Fuji paste?
That's
Okay.
glass ionomer.
Okay.
When do you use that?
To cement?
Fuji cement?
Not Fuji cement. Go to page 727.
Okay. 727.
The caution for placing glass ionomer, avoid water contamination, contact with the material. Be aware that when the material is glossy appearance, it has disappeared. Setting a stage has begun.
So glass ionomers adhere chemically to teeth, which is why they're used so much. So you don't really have to prepare the tooth as much if you're using glass ionomer. Okay. But the most unique feature about it is glass ionomers release fluoride.
Oh, so there is fluoride.
Yes.
Plus.
So because they release fluoride, what sector of people do you think glass ionomer is used a lot on?
The kid, the child.
Pediatric, right? Fuji is used in pediatric offices a lot.
Like
Okay.
they say also you can use like a sealant for sealant.
Yes, you can. They can be used as liners, bonding agents, and cements. It's not used as a sealant because sealants are much more flowable. All right, with glass ionomer, it's going to be more like a composite. Whereas a sealant is going to flow into the grooves. All right, but glass ionomer has, once it's set, releases fluoride.
So your initial question was, it's
My initial question was, does glass ionomer have fluoride?
yes.
Yeah.
And the answer is yes, it releases fluoride once it's set. So the area in dentistry where it's used a lot is pediatric. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So let's talk about implant procedures, because I know probably a lot of you, I don't know what sect of dentistry you work in, but implant procedure. So talk to me about what is an implant and what is the procedure that we use in order to do an implant.
An implant is a titanium screw.
It's
that
a
is
screw
used
that's
to-
placed, and what does it replace in our
A
mouth?
A natural tooth,
What part of the natural tooth is it replacing?
the roots.
The root. Okay. So the titanium screw is replacing the natural root of our tooth. Nikki, we're talking about implants, okay? So the procedure for doing an implant is what? Does anyone do implants in their office?
I do.
I do.
You do? Okay. Do you work in oral surgery?
Yes.
Okay. I was like, you know a lot about, you're talking about curettes, and I was like, she must work in oral surgery. Okay. So for implant procedure, first we need to figure out what about the implant?
We take a panoramic x-ray or an PA. We make sure that we have enough bone height, structure, and that there's no nerve if we're doing the lower, or if we're doing the upper, the sinuses that are
Correct.
not
And we want to make sure there's enough room for the implant,
for the implant, exactly.
especially if we're doing lower anteriors. Tiny
Yes.
spaces, okay?
Very difficult.
can
Then
be
we
very
numb the patient, we make a flap, we use series of drills to make the size of the implant.
Correct.
Then we drill in the implant. We
And we
place
drill in the implant, and then we do what at the end of the procedure?
either we use a cover screw or a healing abutment, and then we close our flap with gut sutures.
And then we
close it.
And we wait.
And we wait 3 to 4 months, depending.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So we have to wait. Why are we waiting?
Because we need to make sure that the implant integrates
into the bone.
Yes.
Okay. We want to make sure that it takes.
Yeah.
Do we want to put a tooth on top of it right away?
No.
No, because if you're putting pressure on something that's not integrated, what's going to happen?
It's going to fail.
It's going to fail. Okay. So we want to wait months for that implant to integrate. What is the second stage of implant surgery?
Uncovering and implant.
Uncovering.
And crown, sorry. Uncovering and crown.
Right. So what is uncovering the implant?
If the implant was buried under the gums, we have to make a little incision or
use a tissue punch, right?
And then uncover the implant, place a temporary healing cap, and then wait a week or two until it's healed. And then the dentist switches the healing abutment for a permanent abutment.
Right. And what is an abutment?
It's the piece that sticks out that serves as the prep
connector.
Tooth.
Let's call it the connector between the tooth and the implant.
Place, right.
Okay. We can't just put a tooth on top of an implant. We have to connect it with something, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because
yes.
if the implant is replacing the roots, the abutment is replacing the
tooth, the crown,
right? And then we put a crown on top.
Mm-hmm.
We're actually like remaking this tooth with 3 separate parts. Okay. When we put on the healing cap, what is it doing?
It's forming the gingival around the healing screw. So
it doesn't close up again.
Right? It's holding that space open.
Yeah, it's holding the gingiva, yeah.
Right? And the abutment it's holding that space, right, for that tooth. What happens if somebody waits too long to get an implant? What could happen?
It covers it again. And sometimes
if they don't get the implant, the teeth shift.
They shift, yes.
Right? If they have room, they like to spread out. Like you've seen people with teeth bent over to the side or that have moved, right? Teeth spread out if they have room. We want to keep them in their spot. If you have a child that has to get a tooth out prematurely, what do we put in that area?
Space maintainer.
And it literally maintains the space, right? Holds the space so that the adult tooth can come in. Implants doing the same thing. It's holding that space. Healing cap is doing the same thing. It's holding that space, holding that gum tissue open so you can take an impression. All right. Okay, that's all the questions I have for this.
The procedure, like 9 months, between 6-9 months, 1 year, how long?
So it depends who you ask. Typically between the different, so there's a couple different ways to do implants. When you take the tooth out, sometimes they do an immediate implant, right? And if you think about what is an immediate denture, you place it immediately after you take the tooth out. So what is an immediate implant?
You place it right after you remove
immediately after you take the tooth out. Now this is dependent on whether or not the patient has good bone. If they don't, the next step is you take out the tooth and you have to put in bone graft, right? And a cover on top. Tell me what the cover is called again. I'm having a moment.
Membrane.
A membrane.
Or a collar tape.
Close up the area. That's so the bone graft takes to the bone because you need bone to place an implant. No bone, no implant. Not everybody's a candidate. Okay. So if they don't place an immediate implant, then it's 3 to 4 months before that bone integrates into your bone. So that's 3 to 4 months right there. Then the implant, after you place that, you have to wait another 3 to 4 months right there for the implant to integrate into your now bone, right? And then you have to do the uncovering and the impression for the crown, and that's however long, depending on whether you have a CEREC machine in your office, 2 to 3 weeks before the crown comes in. So it's not an overnight procedure. To get an implant is a 6 to 9 month procedure from soup to nuts. Okay. If it's a front tooth, what do we have to give that patient in the interim?
A flipper.
A flipper.
Right? It's expensive too. Like, it's an expensive procedure, but the plus side of it, what can we do instead of an implant?
A bridge.
A bridge.
What's the plus side of an implant over a bridge?
That you don't have to ruin good teeth. Use the good teeth on the sides.
Right. And what happens if that bridge fails?
You have to replace the 3 teeth or
Now
however
you're
many
talking about
teeth.
replacing 3
Yes.
teeth. And chances are, if that tooth failed because it wasn't flossed or brushed, what's going to happen to that bridge?
It's gonna go to shit.
You think it's hard to floss your regular teeth?
Yes.
Try flossing a bridge. Like, you know,
Yeah.
not everybody's a candidate for a bridge either. Okay. All right. So I think, let me see. So I want to go back and start talking about remember we were going over instruments? The only other procedure it looks like they were talking about on here is an endo procedure. So do you want to talk about endo procedure?
Yeah, about the endo files.
Okay. So what is endodontics?
So root canal specialist?
Right. So it's a root canal. Okay. So if we're doing a root canal, so we seat our patient, we go over their medical history, we place their bib, we take an x-ray. All right. So we have all that done. So what is our procedure for endo?
Need to numb the patient.
We numb the patient.
Mm-hmm.
What do we place always
Place
for endo?
rubber dam.
Oh, rubber dam.
Dental dam, right?
Dental
Always place a rubber dam.
Yes.
Okay. And
Rubber dam or dental dam?
I think you can call it either. I always call it a dental dam, but anything with the word dam in it is going to be the dam. Rubber dam, dental dam. I don't think it matters. I'm just seeing what they have it at in our book. Let's see. I'm like trying to read here in the dark. Dental dam, dental base, dental bond, dental care, dental caries, dental cement. They call it a dental dam. Okay, so let's look at dental dam. It starts on page 548.
The chapter is moisture control, right?
Yes. So dental dam is going to help to isolate the teeth you're working on. Okay. It serves as infection control. It safeguards the patient's mouth against debris, materials, or liquids. It protects the patient from aspirating or swallowing anything because if you think about endodontics, it's a very tiny procedure with a lot of little things that could get lost, right? I mean, more so than any other dental procedure, you're using tiny little files and tiny little reamers, and everything is tiny in endo. All right, so we want to make sure we have that dental dam on the patient. We need a dental dam frame, right, which we stretch the dental dam over. And then we need holes in the dental dam to stretch over the teeth, right? So if you turn the page, you'll see, that's funny. There's a dental dam punch, figure 36.15. Okay.
And a dental dam clamp.
There is a dental dam clamp. That's page 551, figure 36.19. So that clamp and the forceps hold the clamp, open it up to place over the tooth onto in the dental dam. Okay. What do you always have to have on the clamp before you work with it? Why?
For just in case the patient swallow, we can.
Okay. Again, we're using these little things, so we want to make sure that we have floss. Yep. So if you look on page 555, this is a maxillary anterior dam application. So you're going to do all those surrounding teeth for anterior.
It even shows you on page 555, 552, the different type of clamps that you would use, the clamps that you would use for the interior.
You have the anterior, you have premolar, and then you have molar clamps.
That's pretty neat because I didn't know that.
I find mostly 14A they use a lot.
My doctor loves 14A for the molars and premolars.
And then, or 2, if you're doing either pediatric or you have a smaller molar. That's what I find mostly.
Which ones?
2 and a 14A.
$14A for which one? For the molars? And 2, you said something else for what? For kids?
Well, so it's a premolar clamp. I said when you're doing pediatrics, because the because the deciduous molars are smaller. They use 2A a lot. Let's see. Excuse me, I'm sorry. It's not the company. So tired today. Okay, if you look at page 561. It's showing you how they're placing the dental dam.
This is pretty cool.
On what page?
561. And anything we talk about on here, like we're talking about moisture control, I'll put the PowerPoint that I have together for it up on the website too. Like we're just talking about it right now. I can go over the PowerPoint with you, but I think this actually might be helping you a little bit more. But I'll put the PowerPoint on this up on the website, okay?
I like this because I feel like it's testing our knowledge.
Yeah.
And whatever we don't know, we could just like go back into it and write it down.
Correct. I agree. So let me just put on here what we're doing. So chapter 36, moisture control. I'll put up on there, PowerPoint. Okay. So we've placed the dental dam for the endodontic procedure. What is the next step?
Start to drill, like cleaning the cavity, remove all the decay.
So here's the thing. Do they remove, so why are they drilling?
To access the canals.
Open the tooth. Yeah.
Right, so their job is to access the canal. They don't always remove all of the decay necessarily in endo. Their job is to access that canal, right? So what kind of burr are they going to use?
Is it a 557?
7?
They're
No.
just accessing the canal.
Round.
Around, right? They're going to use a round burr. If they're doing an anterior tooth, what size round burr do you think they're going to use?
The smallest one?
Like a 4.
What is the smallest round burr? Or what is a small size round burr?
2 maybe.
A 2 or a 4.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, as the numbers get bigger, the burr gets bigger, right? So a 2 or 4 is going to be really little. A 6 or an 8 is going to be bigger.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so typically in endo, anytime I never worked specifically with an endodontist, but I've done a lot of endo in my life. Typically endodontists use size 4 or size 6 round burrs for their initial infiltration into the tooth. Okay. So to access the canal, they're going to use a round burr, usually size 4 or size 6, depending on the tooth. Okay. What happens when they get to the pulp? Then what are they going to do?
They have to remove the nerve.
How do they do that?
Using different endo files?
Right, using K files, right?
Right.
What number K file does it start with?
8.
8.
Right, either 8 or 10. Okay, so again, it starts with the lowest numbers. The lowest are the smallest or thinnest, and it goes up, and as the numbers of the files or the numbers of the burrs go up, they get bigger.
Mm.
Okay, the bigger numbers are the bigger burrs. The bigger numbers are the bigger files. So what file would you need to go up to just off the top of your head to do a molar? Well, you know it would be a bigger number than it would be to do a lower anterior tooth, right? What about maxillary centrals? What do we know about the pulp on maxillary centrals?
They are larger.
It's big,
Mm-hmm. Like the
right?
canal, very long.
We
Even though
use
their
a
front
10.
teeth are big, the pulp is
Do we
big.
use a 10 or a 9 for
To
those?
start. But you're going to have to go up to a bigger number because the pulp up there is bigger. Okay.
Nicole, how can we see? Well, it might be a silly question, but I don't know like how many exact burrs there should be. Like
How many burrs for what?
Like the numbers, or like up to what number, or what's the biggest burr, or what's.
So I'm not saying you have to know every single burr and every single number. I'm saying round burrs go by 2s. And as they get bigger, the burr gets bigger.
Okay.
So that's how the round burrs work.
So the round burrs go by 2s.
Right. So the smallest is a 2, then it goes 4, then 6, then 8. I don't know anything bigger than an 8, although I'm sure they're out there, but I can't imagine what you would use it for. Teeth are pretty small. Even big teeth are pretty small. So I think an 8 is probably the biggest round burr that I can think of. There might be bigger, but I don't know them. But again, the bigger the number, the bigger the burr. Okay. So if you remember that, and same thing with files, the bigger the number, the bigger the file.
And what is for the files?
So I'm not understanding the question. I'm
So
sorry.
what's the numbering for the files?
It starts at an 8, and then
Goes to 50 or something.
yeah, it goes up to like 50, but it doesn't. So the 8 is a weird number for the files, but mostly if you start at 10, it goes by tens.
Yeah.
So the files are 10, right? It goes by tens or fives. I'm thinking. Hold on.
Fives, I think.
It goes by fives. Sorry, but for some reason it goes from 8 to
Five.
10.
It's by 5. Yeah. No, it's
10
So-
is the 10 is the purple one.
Yeah. So 10 is usually the smallest one they start with.
Yeah.
And then it goes 10, 15, 20, 25, 30. So what does that number tell you on the file? How what?
How big?
Not how long, how
Thick?
thick the file is, how wide it is, right? And then there's 3 different lengths that you can choose. There's
21,
21, 25, and 30,
30.
which is the length, right? So you choose your file by width and length.
So you use the key files to get to the pulp, right?
Correct.
Okay.
And then usually, well, it depends, again, it depends who's doing it. If it's an actual endodontist, they're then going to start using their motor files, right? How do we, what do we use to check to make sure we got to the end of the pulp?
We use the apex locator.
Right, because what is the end of the pulp called? What is the very tip of the tooth called? The what?
apex.
The apex. Okay? The apex is the tip of the root. We use an apex indicator. It literally indicates whether or not we're at the apex of the tooth.
We use what was it again?
Apex indicator. It indicates whether or not we're at the apex of the tooth. Again, a lot of these words, if you just break them up, you know them. Okay? So we've taken out the nerve. We've opened up the pulp, right? So the pulp is gone. We've opened up the canal. Then we want to what?
Fill it.
Before we fill it, we want to,
We have to clean.
we have to clean it.
Clean it. Make sure the whole nerve
Debris is out. So we rinse it. What do we usually rinse it with? I'm getting very specific on you guys, just so if you hear this again, you're like, oh, right. What do we rinse it with?
Sodium hypochlorite.
Sodium
Hypochlorite, which is a mixture of
bleach.
Water.
water and bleach, right?
Water.
We don't tell the patients that.
What is the correct word? Sodium?
Sodium hypochlorite.
All right.
And then after we rinse it, we need to,
Dry it.
Dry.
what do we dry it with?
Paper.
Paper points.
Paper points that literally get into the tooth and dry the tooth. So now we've drilled the tooth, we've removed the pulp, we've cleaned the canal, we've dried the canal. Now we're ready to,
Fill it.
Fill.
and what do we fill it with?
Gutta percha?
Gutta percha.
Cement. Right.
What is it again?
Gutta percha.
Gutta percha?
Gutta. Gutta. Second word, percha. I'm looking in our book for endo,
Fill with gutta percha.
which is like an orange plastic cone. Okay. So once we have it completely filled in with gutta percha, 899, page 899. Okay, let's do this instead. Turn to page 905.
Here.
So that's what K files look like, in case you have not seen them.
Thank you.
Turn the page again. At the top is a dental brooch. Basically, a dental brooch is like a little file with like things sticking out of it to pull out any excess on the sides. All right. On page 907, those are paper points. That's what we use to dry the canal. And then on page 908 at the top
That's the gutta
is
percha.
gutta percha. And that is root canal filling material from the Polyquium gutta tree. What's important about gutta percha? When we take an x-ray, it's what? Radio opaque or lucent?
It's radiopaque.
Radio opaque, we can see it, right?
Mhm.
So important. So important that it's radio opaque, because otherwise we wouldn't be able to tell if somebody had a root canal or not, right?
Right.
So gutta percha is radio opaque, right?
Yes. On page 909 is an apex locator or apex indicator. And on page 911 is an x-ray of a patient who's had a root canal. So you can see that the gutta percha is radio opaque. So after we place the gutta percha and we pack it in, then what do we do? So it has these tips like everywhere, right? We have to burn off the end of the tips, right?
You have to cut it?
Just like,
Cut it and we need to
Burn it.
Yeah, okay, to pack it. And
And
then what do we do? So the gutta percha goes from the apex of the tooth up to the top of the canal, but now there's still this opening in the tooth. So we have to put some sort of
Filling or composite.
Typically, we're not going to put a composite in unless they're doing the buildup at the same time. If they're just doing root canal.
That's the
Temporary
temporary filling.
Right.
IRS.
So we're going to put a small piece of
Cotton.
cotton, and then we're going to fill it with a temporary filling, either IRM or
Cavit.
Cavit, right?
Cabbage, yeah.
Of cotton or what?
Cavit. Cotton and Cavit or cotton and IRM. Some sort of temporary filling on top.
Leave the cotton there,
Mhm.
the IRM.
Yeah, underneath the IRM. Why do we leave the cotton there?
Casey, if you need to access it again.
And so when the dentist goes to do their crown, they know when they get to the end of the temporary filling, they're going to hit the
Cotton.
right? Because we don't want them to drill out the gutta percha. That would, then the tooth wouldn't be filled with anything. Okay.
When you said that we had to place the gutta percha, you said something about burning it.
So after you pack all the gutta percha in, the tips of the gutta percha are still going to be like kind of out of the tooth because the gutta percha is all the same size, right? Teeth are this big, the gutta percha is this big. So you cut off the ends of the gutta percha and you burn it in. So it's a way of sealing it. You seal it.
There. If you look at page 914, there
Thank
is
you.
kind of like, it shows how the gutta percha sticks out of the tooth.
Thank you.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
So you fill the canal with gutta percha, heat the working end of the Glick instrument, and remove the tips. And that seals the gutta percha into the tooth. And then, of course, you have to check the occlusion, make sure it's not too high,
Yeah.
right?
And sometimes the patient is so numb that he cannot tell you. Right? And then
So
next
what can we use as dental assistants, even if the patient is numb?
Articulating paper.
Articulating paper,
yeah,
right? If a lot of blue shows up, we better take that down. Because
yeah,
if it's too high, they're going to break the rest of that tooth, right?
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen it happen on more than one occasion. Like a lot, I've seen it happen. All right. And then the next step after that is for the patient to get a post and core and a crown. Okay. All right. And what chapter is this? This is endodontics, chapter 54. I'm just writing down all the chapters we're going over so I can put the PowerPoints into the classroom. Okay. So we went over chapter 36, chapter 54. Actually, I think it might be easier if we look at, I'm feeling like chapter 35 is the burr chapter. So let's look at that next.
Chapter what?
35. Do you want to watch the PowerPoint on chapter 35 because it goes over all the burrs? And I
Yeah,
think
yes,
that's from what I'm seeing, all the tests had burr questions. So let's watch the PowerPoint on that, okay? So let me just grab it. Hold on a sec.
You go check on the baby. Can you check on the baby? No? To see how they woke up this morning?
You guys all have 12th edition?
Yeah.
Is that what you have? Okay. My students just got the 13th, so I'm like, just want to make sure I'm using the right one for you guys. Oh, where am I? And then after we do the PowerPoint slides, I want to do the interactive like we did last time with the quiz and stuff. Okay. especially with these accessories here.
Is the class from last week recorded? Because I couldn't take the class last week because I didn't have the link.
No problem. It's on, so I just have to add you before you leave today, Lysander, just make
No,
sure.
I'm Anna. The thing is, I'm using my son's
Oh,
computer.
I was gonna say, God, yeah, I feel like I had you in another one of my classes and that wasn't.
Yeah,
me.
I have my son's computer today, so that's why it's Lysander.
Okay. And I was gonna say, I thought your name was Anna, but you know, listen, I am.
It's all right. It's
hot mess.
okay.
Okay. So I need to add you to our Google Classroom.
I think I'm added to the Google Classroom. I would kept using my old link for infection control,
Oh, okay.
and I
So
couldn't
you
log in.
sent
but
a message this morning on infection control.
Yeah, so
I was like, someone sent a message on infection
yes,
control.
and I sent
Okay.
it last week as well. But then I called the school, and she sent me the right link, and I was able to log in.
Okay, that makes more sense. Okay, so what I did was I'm recording all the Zoom meetings.
Okay.
And I download them onto the Google Classroom.
Okay, and I have that. I have access.
Okay,
to
so
that.
I mean, you know, whoever wants to watch me again, it's very exciting 5-hour Zoom meeting.
I feel like I learn better like that than actually.
It's on there. And the infection control one is on there too, just FYI. The Zoom meetings for the infection control is on the infection control classroom. So I've made different classrooms for different classes. So.
Oh, so I definitely don't have this classroom, so then I do need it.
Right. So just make sure before you leave today that you get me your email address and I'll just add you.
Perfect. Thank you.
Okay. No problem, of course. Let's see. Okay. So when attached to a specific handpiece, rotary instruments operate at different speeds to accomplish different functions in cutting, polishing, and finishing of tooth structure in the restorative process. The evolution of rotary equipment. So in the 1940s, this was the introduction of rotary instruments. We had a belt-driven handpiece, okay, where they had like stepped on the pedal. And this was the time of the development of diamond cutting burrs. In the 50s, they invented the tungsten carbide and the development of the air-driven turbine handpiece, which was obviously much faster than the belt-driven one. Glad we don't have that anymore. The dental handpiece is the most frequently used instrument in restorative dentistry. It provides power to a rotary instrument that is used to complete the actual cutting or polishing of tooth structure and casting. A low speed or slow speed handpiece is designed in two sizes, standard length and shorty. The speeds range from 10,000 to 40,000 RPM or rotations per minute. The rotary instrument burr can be positioned to operate in both a forward and backward movement. That's for the low speed or slow speed handpiece. Okay. And this is what it looks like. What burr would we put into this low speed handpiece?
Acrylic burrs.
An acrylic burr.
The lab burrs, right?
Right.
Okay. Uses of low-speed handpiece. Clinical, we can remove soft decay and fine finishing of a cavity preparation. There's another head, if we don't use that cone head, that we can put on the slow speed or low speed handpiece. It's called a what?
Angle?
Contra angle.
Contra angle, right.
Okay. And then we use what kind of burrs in a contra angle?
A round burr?
Round.
What is the end of the burr? It's called a
Finishing burr?
latch, right?
Latch?
The latch hook burr. So when you have a contra angle, it doesn't go in the same way as a high-speed handpiece, right?
You have to lock it in.
Correct.
Right.
Okay, so it's called a latch it's called a latch burr, a latch hook burr. All right. So with a slow speed handpiece, a lot of times we'll use round burrs in there, right? To remove soft decay. We use it for fine finishing of a cavity preparation by putting what on it? So let's say we're doing a front tooth and we want to make it real shiny and beautiful. What do we put on it?
A finishing bird.
Or polishing discs, right?
Polish discs. Mhm.
Okay. Coronal polishing and removal of stains, porcelain adjustments, root canal treatment. Also, we use this low speed for laboratory burrs, for trimming and contouring of temporary crowns, trimming and relining of removable partials, and contouring of ortho appliances. Okay, and that's what we're using our acrylic burrs for, right?
Mhm.
So the straight attachment or the cone head attachment slides onto the low speed motor and locks into place. This low speed attachment, known as the cone head, such a funny word, is most commonly used for lab procedures or to trim provisionals and acrylic prosthetics that are made outside of the mouth, right? Will we ever use an acrylic burr in the mouth?
No.
I hope not. Okay. The contra angle attachment slides onto the low speed motor and locks into place. The angle is designed to allow the operator intraoral access with easier adaptation to tooth surfaces. This attachment holds latch type rotary instruments, latch type endophiles, latch type prophy cups, and latch type mandrels. One common denominator for everything this attachment holds is this latch type. Okay? So if you see anything with a latch type on it, where's it going to go?
The contra angle.
Contra angle.
A prophy angle is used for what?
For
What is it?
Polish
cleaning.
the teeth.
For cleaning, right? Or polishing the teeth. It's used during polishing procedures and hold the prophy cup and bristle brush. So we have a plastic disposable prophy angle and then a metal prophy angle. All right, so this is the brush and this is the cup. These are both disposable prophy angles, okay? Or prophy cup and prophy brush. If we're not talking about hygiene, when would we use this particular attachment?
Or we place, like, for instance, before we place the brackets for ortho,
Right, so we do what?
we polish a little bit.
Right, we polish a little bit, right? Or
Mhm.
maybe before we do sealants, if we're doing sealants, we want to polish a little bit. This is used for polishing the tooth. And what do we use to polish the tooth?
Prophy paste.
Usually, unless we're doing a cleaning, we're going to use pumice, right?
Pumice. Yes, Pumus.
Because what's the difference between pumice and prophy paste? Prophy paste has something in it.
Fluoride.
Fluoride.
Okay, so we don't always want to cover the teeth with fluoride before we start working on them. We want to use pumice, okay? High-speed handpiece is a one-piece unit with a slight curve. It's operated by air pressure, and this one operates at speeds as high as 450,000 RPM. So the contra angle or the low speed is going 10 to 40,000. This is going 450,000. Huge difference, okay? It maintains a water coolant system. It has friction grip locking system for rotary instruments. So the end of the burrs are going to be what?
Straight.
They're going to be smooth. They're not going to have that latch on them.
Yeah.
Okay. And many of them, not all of them, have fiber optic lighting. Okay, so this is what it looks like. We use high-speed handpieces to remove decay, to remove old restorations, to reduce the crown portion of a tooth to prep a crown or bridge, to prep the outline and retention grooves for a new restoration. We use it to finish or polish a restoration, and we use it to section a tooth during surgery. right? So if you're in oral surgery and you're trying to get the tooth out and you can't get it out, sometimes you have to, I call it divide and conquer, but you have to section the tooth, okay? The extremely high speed of the burr or stone attachment to the high-speed handpiece can generate frictional heat on a tooth, possibly causing damage to the pulp. How do we prevent this? Cool it down. How do we cool it down?
With water.
Water. Okay, that's why water shoots out of the high-speed handpiece. It's designed to handle a water coolant system. The tooth and burr are constantly sprayed with cool water while operating. The water spray helps remove debris from the tooth prep and allows the operator better visibility. Bless you.
Thank you.
Burrs for high-speed handpieces have a different locking system than those for low speed. So the high speed operates with a friction grip device. Some older handpieces require the use of a burr changing device. Did anybody ever have to use one of them? What a pain in the rear, okay? Now most of them, you don't need something to change the burr with, but 20 years ago, you used to have to use this little instrument to change the burr with. It looked almost like a Tafelmeyer. All right. For others with release built into the head of the handpiece, a burr changing device is not required. That's what most of us, I believe, are using now. I hope most of us are using that. Okay. High-speed handpieces are equipped with fiber optic light that is mounted in the head of the handpiece. Light ports near the burr deliver the proper amount of light directly into the operating site. Not all handpieces have this, but the ones that do are always high-speed handpieces, okay? An ultrasonic handpiece attaches to the dental unit for water or has its own self-contained water or medicament supply. It's powered by electricity. When do we use an ultrasonic handpiece?
Avitron,
In what area of dentistry?
hygiene.
Hygiene, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's used for scaling and root planing and prophylaxis appointments. Attachments similar in appearance to scaling instruments, and it delivers a pulsating spray of water. Okay, so hygienists use this for their cleanings. They use ultrasonic scalers, right? Excuse me. And periodontists use this for scaling and root planing.
And the ortho can use also when she needs to remove the brackets and remove the,
Oh, do they use scalers for that?
for remove the, you know, some cement.
Okay, I worked for an orthodontist. We didn't use one.
Mine, she used a lot.
Okay, that's good to know too. So this is what it looks like. Hopefully everyone's seen one before. A laser handpiece uses a beam of laser light to cauterize soft tissue or vaporize decayed tooth structure. What does cauterize mean?
So like burn it so it stops bleeding.
Okay. What do we usually, what in the mouth do we cauterize typically?
The gums.
Gums, right? Or if we do a procedure and the patient is bleeding a lot, we can use a cauterizer to help close up the wound or stop the bleeding, all right? Water and air to cool the tooth and keep the area clean. Benefits include painlessness and not having to wait for anesthesia to work. Does anyone here use a laser handpiece?
We use it for the gingivectomy.
Okay. Precautions of laser handpiece: do not sharply bend or twist the fiber optic cable. Do not touch exposed fiber optic cable. Do not touch the end of the fiber optic cable connector. And you need to keep the connecting parts clean. These are the precautions, okay? Air abrasion handpiece is a smaller version of a sandblaster. What do we use this for?
For cleanings, maybe, hygienist.
Ortho?
Well, so in ortho, you do use one of these, right? Air abrasion. And what do you use it for? To remove what?
So you clean off the tooth, basically.
to either clean off the tooth or you use it to clean off, like if somebody breaks a bracket,
To remove the marks.
okay? It's designed to remove stains and tooth decay. It has a high pressure delivery of aluminum oxide particles through a small probe. It removes enamel, dentin, and restorative materials without compromising healthy tooth structure. Uses of air abrasion handpiece prepares teeth for sealants, removal of external stains, class 1 through class 6 preparations. I want to talk about, did we talk about the classes of cavities last week too?
Yes,
Yes.
we did.
Yes.
You want to go over them again just real quick?
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's called Black's classification of cavities, right? What is class 1 cavity?
Pits and fissures and occlusal surfaces.
Pits and fissures and occlusal surfaces. How about a class 2?
Interproximal or mesial or distal.
It includes the mesial and distal, right?
And
What about a
molars.
class 3?
Proximal, mesial, distal, incise.
Okay, it includes the incisal edge in that. What about 4?
The incisal edge and distal anterior teeth.
Of the anterior teeth, right? What about a class 5?
Third of facials, lingual, and surfaces of any tooth. That's what you said.
Surgical.
In what third of the tooth? The
Gum line.
gingival third, right?
Yeah.
That's class 5.
Yes. Class 5 is going to be right along the gum line, either buccal or lingual. And what about class 6?
Asian. So it's like the tip of the
Either the tip of the cusps or just the incisal edge of the teeth. And that's typically because of
abrasion.
abrasion or grinding, right?
Yes.
Okay, good, great. Okay, we also use air abrasion handpiece for endodontic access, crown margins, and prepping the tooth for cementation of a cast restoration, like a crown, a veneer, inlay, onlay. Okay, a laboratory handpiece operates at speeds as high as 20,000 RPM. It uses lab burrs. It has greater torque than that of the handpiece used intraorally. So this is going to be like a lathe. Okay. In your lab, like maybe you put a rag wheel on it. So in order to keep your handpiece clean, you want to wear PPE always, follow universal or now known as standard precautions, clean debris from external surfaces, clean internal components of the handpiece using air and oil, lubricant. Handpiece must be dry before being packaged. Wrap the handpiece for sterilization. Sterilize the handpiece. Wipe the light port of fiber optic with an alcohol swab to remove any excess lubricant. Obviously, always follow manufacturer's instructions. So, rotary cutting instruments. There's 3 basic parts to a rotary instrument. You have the shank, okay, which is the portion that fits into the handpiece. If you're looking at let me find it in your book because I think I don't have pictures on mine. Okay. So right now we're on page 535, talking about rotary cutting instruments.
535.
Yes, ma'am, in the MDA book. And if you look at the top of 535 on the right-hand side, the shank of the burr is the part that fits into the handpiece. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And there's 3 different kinds of shanks. There's a straight shank. There's a latch shank and a friction grip.
friction will be C, right?
Yes. And you see that weird little thing at the end
Yes.
on B? That's
Yes.
called a latch type. That's going to fit into your contra angle. Okay. So if you see anything with that at the end, it's going to be a contra angle burr or a low speed burr. Okay. Then we have the neck portion, which connects the shank and the head. And then we have the head, which is going to determine what type of cutting it's going to do, right? Or polishing it's going to do. Oh, here, this is in here. Okay. So this is the same as the picture on top of that page. So we have the shank, which is this part, the neck, and then the head. We have the shank, the neck, and the head. Shank, neck, head. Okay, it doesn't matter what burr you're talking about, it's going to have all three of these parts. All right. Dental burrs are all rotary instruments with sharp cutting head. The uses for dental burrs include preparing the tooth, excavating the decay, finishing the cavity walls, finishing the restorative surfaces, removing old fillings, finishing crown preps, separating crowns and bridges, adjusting and correcting acrylic temporary crowns. It's used for all of these things. When discussing the shape of a burr, you are referring to the contour or design on the head of the burr. So if we have a round burr, if we talk about a round burr, we're talking about the head of the burr only. Burrs are manufactured in a variety of shapes, and each shape is available in a variety of sizes. A burr will have a name, numbers attached to its shape, and a purpose. Diamond burrs are often used, that was really loud, I'm sorry. Diamond burrs are often used for crown preparations. Diamond burrs have a metal base with flecks of industrial diamonds embedded into the base. The most frequently selected diamond burrs include round. Round is going to provide access to the pulp chamber. Again, the round burrs are going to provide direct access, right? Flat end taper is used to reduce tooth structure during a crown prep. And the next page or 2 pages down, they're going to show you what the burrs look like. We have a flame, which reduces tooth structure in preparation for a crown. We have a wheel, which makes subgingival bevels in a crown prep. Then we have finishing burr. It's similar in appearance to a cutting burr, except the number of blades or flutes in the working end of the finishing burr is increased. So if the number of blades or flutes is increased, it's going to do what? Make it smoother. Okay?
Say that again.
So the more flames or cuts or blades that are in the burr, the smoother it's going to be.
Okay, thank you.
Think about a fan with 4 blades when you watch it go around, right? Like you can kind of see the blades going around. But the more blades in your fan, then think about how fast it goes or how you can't really see it. It becomes smoother, right? So the greater number of cutting surfaces, the greater its polishing or finishing capability. And there's tapered, round, or flames. So we'll look at that. So here's a round burr. And we know it's a finishing burr because look at all of these. See all the grooves?
Lines, right.
This is a flame, right? Football. This is a flat end. All right, but you can see these are all finishing burrs because they have more fissures in them. The most varied of the rotary instruments is the abrasive rotary instrument. Many types of abrasive materials are applied to many shapes to create a flexible working surface that can be adapted to the contour of a tooth or restoration. Abrasive materials are made in shapes ranging from discs and stones to points and strips. So in ortho, you guys use abrasive strips to reduce contact in the teeth so you can move them, right? And they're called polishing strips, right? And the coarser they are, the more they remove. The finer they are, the more they polish. Okay? Same thing with burrs. So we have the burrs that are like this, which are really polishing, right? There's nothing on them, right? But then we have a stone like this, which you can see how porous and coarse it is. So this stone is going to be used more for initial, think about an emery board. Did you guys ever see a nail file that has all those different sides to it?
Mm-hmm.
So the coarse side is for what? To bring down the nails. And then as you bring down the nails to where you want them, you start to use the finer and finer sides to polish them, right? Same thing with dental burrs. So the finer the material on them, the more high gloss or polishing they're going to do. The coarser they are, the more they're going to take off. Okay? Same thing with polishing discs, right? There's all different color polishing discs. When you get the real coarse ones, is that going to create a smooth surface?
No.
No, but it's going to start you to create the smooth surface. Then as you continue on with your polishing discs, you get to the finer and finer polishing discs. By the end, that surface is smooth and beautiful, right? Okay, as you get finer. Abrasive discs and wheels are supplied separately and are not attached to a shank. So a mandrel is used to attach the contra-angle to the discs. Was there a mandrel on that last one we just saw? Yeah, so this and this are mandrels, okay? And then you attach the disc to this. These are old school ones with screws on them, but I'm sure you guys probably have them in your office that just pop on, right? For your polishing discs. Laboratory burrs have longer shanks and a larger head than dental burrs. Laboratory burrs are used in the low-speed handpiece for functions such as cutting and polishing of acrylic. The acrylic burr is the burr that is most commonly used in the laboratory. Acrylic burr is used to cut and polish acrylic. Okay? These are different acrylic burrs. You have a barrel shape, cone shaped, egg shaped, taper, flame. They're all named for what they look like. Cylinder, inverted cone, pear, round, small inverted cone, fissure, tapered fissure, and regular fissure. Okay? These are all acrylic burrs. I just want to write down chapter 30. Okay. Any questions?
Can we go for break now?
You're like my kids. Actually, I was going to ask you, have a break? Are we there yet? No, no break for you. No, that's fine. Do you guys want to take a half-hour break or 15 minutes?
15
minutes.
3 minutes.
Okay. So it's 11:46. Let's meet back here at 12:02, whatever. Anyway. Okay, so we'll take a 15-minute break. And when we come back, we'll continue on with our learning. And if you guys want, if you had questions on the tests you took, we can answer them, or we can go over the chapters that we went over already and take the quizzes together like we did last time. I think that was really helpful. So,
Yes.
okay.
Oh,
Those
just
questions were good.
Huh?
Those questions are really good.
I like them too.
there
Okay.
was one test, right? When you sent to us last week,
Mhm.
there was one test, right?
There was 2.
I just found one, that's why. And I only had one.
It's on the Google Classroom.
Yeah, I couldn't
Yeah, there's 2.
see.
Go back and look. There's 2.
Okay.
Okay. I'll see you guys in 15. I'm gonna go walk my dog.
All right.
All righty. I'm gonna go see my baby. I just had a grandbaby on Friday.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Gosh, congratulations.
Thank you. So I'm gonna go downstairs and see him.
Okay. I'll see you guys back at like 12:05. Okay.
All right. Great. Thanks.
Okay. Bye.
New tests, right?
I hope I unpaused this earlier. For this week, we have the 2 tests that I did last week and then 1 from this week.
Okay.
So there's 3 altogether. You can
Okay.
take those tests as many times as you want, but
Mhm.
there's 3 altogether.
Okay.
Okay. And again, don't be stressed out when you take the whole point of doing these review tests are to see what you know and what you need to study. Okay.
Okay.
If you know 55% of the information, that's 55% of the things you don't need to work on. I know it sounds horrible, but this is not your test. This is your review and this is what you're studying from. Okay, so figure out what you don't know and put your, emphasis into that, into the stuff you don't know to study.
Okay.
Okay, don't be stressed out about it. Like, this is the reason that we're doing this. Right?
Okay.
The reason I open up all those tests, I expect that you don't know everything. How are you going to know what to study? What are you just going to like take the book and, put it into your head? I don't, you got to know what you know already and what you don't. And the best way to do that is take a test and see what you know and what you don't. And the stuff you don't know, go over.
Study. Yep.
Okay?
Very
See
nice.
you guys next Sunday.
Thank you.
Post anything on the classroom if you have questions or whatever. Okay? And Anna, you should be part of that classroom now.
Yes.
Okay?
So
Thank
everything
you.
that we reviewed
See
today.
you guys next week.
Thank you.
Thank you. Enjoy the rest of the day.
Thanks, you too. Bye.
Bye.
Nicole,
Oh, what?
Nicole,
I'm sorry. Yeah.
I'm sorry. So everything that we went over today should be in the Google Class.
Well, I
right,
didn't
today?
put it in there yet, but I'm going to.
Okay. Yeah, I've been struggling a little bit because I don't have a computer at the moment. I can only look from my phone and it doesn't look like I can't really view it that well from my phone.
Okay.
So I'm borrowing my brother's computer, but he
Okay.
takes it because he always has school. So I've been struggling with that and I'm in, so I
So, but
was,
it'll be up on there and I will continue to leave that classroom open. So whenever you schedule yourself to take a test, it doesn't matter. You can go to the library and use a computer
Okay.
and you can go on there and constantly go back. You can go over the Zoom meetings. You can
Okay,
go
perfect.
over the PowerPoints. Okay. So it'll always be
Great.
on there for you. I'm not closing that class off. So,
Perfect. Thank
Okay.
you so much.
all right. Bye guys. I'll see you next week.
All right. Bye.
Bye.